TUFF SHIFT. Hello, world, and welcome to another episode of TUFF SHIFT, the podcast that unpacks all that goes into surviving the job and living the dream. I am your host, Sean Patrick Murtagh, and I'm tired. I'm not going to drop the F-bomb yet. There'll be a few F-bombs in this, I'm sure. But not yet. I'm going to start off a little gentle because I need some... What is with my hair? Oh my God, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm sorry. But I'm exhausted. I was just talking to today's guest about because she's tired too. We looked at each other and we're like, girl. And I was like, why is it every time I go to record, like the universe knows? And so the shift that I had last night and the shift I have always before I record just seems to beat it out of me, beat my will out of me, my hopes and aspirations. I'm still so happy to be recording this episode. I am so happy to have today's guest, who I'm going to just sing a little bit of her praises now, even though I'm not at the spot where I usually introduce our guests. But I don't say this lightly. And you know that I will always stand by my coworkers. They are more important to me than the job. But I also, in standing up for them, like my mom said, I will go to bat for you. But if I found out you lied to me, so help you. So I go to bat for my coworkers. But if they are not pulling their weight, if they're making my job harder, like I'm going to be like, so help you. But this is someone who not just as a coworker, but as a fellow bartender. And I do not give this out lightly, because for me to think of you as a good bartender, as someone that I enjoy, not even just good, not even just good, but someone that I enjoy working with, that is actual praise. And this is someone that I met doing bartending at a catering event at a beautiful museum in New York City, and immediately I was hooked. And what was the point of me singing her praises other than to just sing her praises? Oh, yes. So we've been kind of like living, not just looking at each other today and being like, girl, we're tired, but like we've been living a certain amount of like parallel existence recently. You all know that I've been on the job hunt and trying to just get out of the place that I was. And it was just how humbling and depressing finding a job in LA has been. And then finally finding a place that's like, yes, you have structure. Yes, you have this. But wait, what's all this testing? What's all this what? Why is this so overly complicated and difficult? Why is your payroll so nuts? Why am I still waiting for like a decent paycheck? What's this tip out? And realizing that like, oh fuck, I jumped out of the frying pan into the fryer, into the fire, into the fire. Lord, see how tired I am? And today's guest has had a similar experience on the job hunt for a while, was very open and transparent with her job hunt on social media, which is, it's not nice that she experienced that, but I appreciate the fact that she was so honest, because for those of us who are working towards something and using this hospitality as a means to an end, and not even just to supplement our dream and our careers, but also just to pay the bills. Rent's due. Bills are due. Con Ed is due. Like, these things don't care that this restaurant sucks or that the market is slow or blah blah blah. So I appreciate her being so transparent, because I felt seen. And I also, it's like I'm rooting for you too. I'm taking some of my energy and I'm sending it over your way in New York. And I can't wait to unpack that with her, because we found these jobs. We were so happy. We worked so hard to get these jobs, and then now we're looking again. Like, I'm in my basic blacks today. If you're watching, and you're like, oh, a black t-shirt. Like, usually you wear something a little louder. Well, because I'm going to train at a new restaurant and see if it's a fit. And it closes early because, baby, I can't be up all night anymore. I cannot. I've done that. I cannot. Um, So that's what I'm doing. And I can't wait to unpack that with her. But before we go to that, I want to talk about something that like it didn't go viral. It didn't go viral. But it sure struck a chord with certain people. A few weeks ago, I was talking, and in this pre-shift, and I was talking about stacking plates, and I very pointedly said, "Stop stacking your fucking plates." Took a little clip, put that on the TikTok, on the Instagram, all that, and boy, did it strike a nerve with so many people. Now, there were people who were in line and agreed with me and were like, "Yes, please stop it. That's not helpful. That actually makes my work a little harder." So those people, thank you for being on the right side of this issue. For the other people, listen, this is just my opinion. This whole podcast is just my opinions based on my experiences. And I know there are different styles of service, there are different restaurants to work at, there are different ways to do anything in life. And we differ, right? But what I'm not here for is the people, and especially if you're not in the industry, if you're like looking in on this podcast and you're just a customer, which thanks for coming in, you are part of the equation. But this is our podcast. This is our space. You're more than welcome to listen in. This podcast is for everyone to listen in. But when you start chiming in on our experience and you don't have any of your own experience to back it up on, that's not what this is for. This is a place for us to air our grievances, to just share stories, to shed a little light. So maybe you can be like, oh, am I that shitty customer? And based on some of these comments, you are. And the one thread that kept coming up that just, I'm like, you're vile and disgusting for talking this way, is it always comes back to the tips. To, oh, I'm supposed to do this and I'm supposed to know what you need and that we're expected to, do all this for you and you still expect a tip. You still expect a tip and I had this and I'm sitting with this and I have to tip you and I left a tip and I didn't, and it's always you're always complaining about the tip because you're always complaining to the person whose fault it is not. You don't go to the manager. You don't go here. If something goes wrong, it's always to the waiter who has no control over most of the situations that bother you. And you wave that fucking tip in our faces as if, oh, let me bow down. Oh, what can I get you, my liege? No, no, that is disgusting. That is really just bad behavior to just be waving that around. We're here to work. We work hard for our money and I don't want this conversation of tip culture. All right. Oh, why don't you pay a living wages? Why don't you da 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 da? Like that's not where we're at. All right. We've had this conversation before, and yeah, we could change things. We could change things, but that's not where we're at. And that's the agreement we in society. We have a lot of agreements that we do, and it's what keeps the walls of our society up, and it's what keeps things going. And so part of this agreement is you get the meal at this price, and part of it is you tip the waiter. It's not up for discussion. And well, I have a right to refuse tip. I have a right to refuse service. You do. But why would you? Right? You can afford to go out. You can afford to do that. You're you're doing something right in your life, and God bless you that you are able to dine out because not a lot of people are. And part of that experience is tipping the staff, and it's not, we don't have to jump through hoops and dance with our shoes on fire and all these acrobatics and circus tricks just for your $2, right? It's 20%. That's the agreement. And eh, when you talk about pay a livable wage, it kind of lets me know like your reading level, like what grade you're reading at, because you're probably one of those people that also assumes, like, I know where you stand on tariffs. I know you think like, oh well, why not? They're going to pay for the tariffs. That they're a good thing, it's kind of the same thing because you think the restaurant paying their staff a livable wage is going to alleviate the burden on you for having to tip. But that's not how it works, right? Because restaurants, I don't know where you're getting this from, but like it, restaurants are not big moneymakers. They're not. Most restaurants are barely breaking even. It is not a huge profitable business. Like most small businesses, they thrive when they thrive, but they also have hard times, and bills come up, and smaller restaurants do struggle. So if we're going to implement that everyone has to be paid a livable wage, and we're going to do away with tipping, guess where that 20% goes? That 20% tip that we rely on, um, that goes into the price of your food. So at the end of the day, you're still paying for it. So why not just end this conversation and end just the classism, the you thinking you're better because we have to work for tips. It's just, people are working honest jobs. They are working an honest job. They are paying their bills. We are facilitating your meal. And so if you're for the working man and you're for the this and that, but you pull that shit, you're not for the working man. You're not. So let's not bring tips into the equation anytime you get called out on your bad behavior. All right? Because again, this is an industry show where we get to air our grievances. You want to listen? Listen. You want to comment? Comment. I mean, I can't stop you from commenting, and actually, please comment because it drives up my views. Um, but why would you just publicly announce to the world what a shitty person you are, right? It's just, don't do it. Don't keep waving that mediocre tip in our face. It's not cool, right? This is our space. You guys have Yelp. All you Karens have Yelp, and that's where you go. And that's where then management comes back to us because you made a complaint about something that didn't really happen or something that's not really an issue. This is what we have. So don't come into our, it's, like going into gay bars. Don't bring your bachelorette party into a gay bar and then expect the gay bar to change for you, right? So you're welcome here. You are welcome here. You're welcome at a gay bar. You're welcome anywhere, but like, don't then come and gentrify our platform. All right. You want to listen in, you want to see what goes on behind the scenes, do it respectfully. And this is all around clearing plates. All right. And so again, and then there's, the industry people who are talking about like, well, I've been working, I'm an expert stacker, I'm da 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 da. And it's like, okay, again, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier about there are different styles of service, there are different restaurants, and there's just different ways of doing things. If you're in the industry and if you're of the mindset to stack plates, let me tell you what it does to me. You're doing what is helpful to you and not to me. And when people say, when people are like, oh, how can I help you? And they tell you and you say, you know what? Actually, you should do it my way. Why the hell did you ask? Why the hell did you ask? If you weren't going to help, if you weren't going to give me what I needed, I need water and you throw me a jar of salt. Like, that's not, why are you making it more difficult for me? So you stack your plates. And now I just have this giant bundle in front of me that requires two hands because I have to take this bundle or disassemble it in front of you. Because when I carry plates, I put one plate in my hand, a carrot in my hand. Then I rest the next biggest plate or equal size halfway on that plate and the other half on my forearm. From there, I can distribute the silverware, boom, boom, boom. I can stack as I need. I get as much on this one hand because I'm strong, baby, and then have this free hand for other little things. And then when I get to the dish pit, to put things where they belong. Because after I take the plates from your table, they don't magically disappear. No, we got to clear the food off of them. We got to put them stack like with like. So the dishwasher, because the dishwasher is the hardest working person in a restaurant. God bless dishwashers. So we got to do that. So it's, for me, this is why stacking plate makes my job harder. The other thing about stacking, again, different services, different restaurants. A manager is never around. I don't care what restaurant you work in, what style of service you are, you can never find your manager when you need them. And yet they magically appear to point out anytime they think you're dropping the ball. So when you stack your plates, you think you're being helpful. And like, you take your last bite. You take your last bite and you've not even swallowed and you're already stacking your plates. And I'm at a table taking their order. I'm not ignoring you. It's been seconds and you stack your plates. What that signifies to management, what that signifies to owners, what that signifies to other people around you is like, oh, that waiter's not been to that table. That bartender left that person sitting there. Like, no, I'm actually taking uh, uh, another table's order, or I'm carrying this plate of awkwardly stacked this stack of awkward fucking shit. I am so tired. Somebody else stacked, and I'm awkwardly carrying their stacked plates, which is taking more of my time. So it signifies that I'm doing something wrong. And even though I'm not, even though the other waiter's not, the other bartender's not, it signifies. And so then that has management on my ass. So just please, for the love of God, if you see this mustache, first of all, don't walk in and say, "Hey, Tom. Hey, nice mustache." Don't do that. Don't do that bullshit. You don't know me. We're not friends. But second of all, if you see this mustache, don't stack plates, please. I don't want to talk to my manager. I have to solve problems on my own. I don't want to talk to them as if I'm dropping the ball when I'm making magic happen. All right. I wanted to talk about so many more things than stacking plates, but y'all got me with some of those comments. Y'all got me with some of those comments. But I love you guys. I do. I love you. Mhm. Anyways, you know what I love? Today's guest. As I mentioned, we work together bartending at a few events in New York. And it's really funny because right before I met some of the most amazing people in New York. I mean, I've met in the 13 years there, I met lots of amazing people. But it just seemed like as soon as I announced that I was leaving New York, as soon as I made up the decision that like, all right, time to pack things up and get to California, all these amazing New York was throwing the best people at me to be like, sure you want to go, sure you want to go. And I met today's guest, and she was just met for her vibrant red hair. She always, when she comes to work, has a beat on. And for those of you heteronormative people who don't know what a beat is, that's drag lingo for her face is made up to the gods. And just an essence about her, a magical essence about her that I'm like, who are you? Her bar kit is phenomenal. Even this place provided all the bar tools you needed, but no, today's guest, she had her rainbow iridescent little oil slick looking titanium speed pourers and her jiggers and her shakers and she just I knew everything about her was fabulous. You're gonna find out why she's fabulous. Even her freaking tagline is. I'm jealous that I'm not a soprano that does what she does because her tagline is just the most accurate. New York's vivacious, voluptuous, bel canto, can belto diva. I was like, wait, did I say that right? Yes, bel canto, can belto. That is so freaking smart. People are so creative and intelligent. And she really is. She's a singer with a resume that covers everything from musical theater to opera to cabaret. You can find her wherever there is a microphone, a piano, and an audience. She has played roles on stage from The Witch and Into the Woods to Mabel and Pirates of Penzance to the Queen of the Night, which is that one, that one, but like up the rafters, like those high Fs that she just like wakes up and is like, here's an F, here's an F, everyone gets a high F. She's so phenomenally talented. She's originated roles and tackled iconic ones. She, like many other guests, like I have said about many other guests, is part of what makes New York City not just magical, but also musical. Whether it's pounding pavement between audition rooms, whether it's in the rehearsal halls, whether it's on stage, whether it's behind a bar humming some tunes, she is part of what makes it magical because she's always in the work. She has oh yes, well, we'll talk about this later, all the stuff she does, but she appears regularly at the Stonewall Inn. She's appeared at 54 Below, at the Duplex, all stages in New York City. She is phenomenal. Please welcome to the show my friend and former coworker Arianna Armon. Button go. There we
Oh my
go.
god. I'm like sitting over here just going, just gonna cry. And you talk about my beat. I didn't realize this was video,
No
first of
worries.
all.
We'll put
And
a filter
I
on.
yeah, and I worked until 4 a.m. last night, kids. So I didn't get home until like 5. And then they were like, oh, guess what? You have a mandatory meeting at 1:30 today. So I just like rolled out of bed today. So hi.
Girl, I feel my mom called today and I just sent her to voicemail because I was like, it was like 10:30 and I was like, and I just texted her, I was like, I'm still recovering from last night. So, like I said, we're living parallel lives today, and but misery loves company.
Exactly.
It's nice
Exactly.
to have somebody to know exactly what you're going through. So, welcome to the show. I am so happy to sing your praises, and it's just like rolled off my tongue because it's all true. I will. We were working at the MoMA or something. That's when I first met you, and I
Probably
was like,
MoMA. Yeah,
yeah,
oh, yeah. MoMA was outside too, wasn't it? It was in that
outside.
courtyard.
Yes, and they were. I think it was like a MoMA staff event, and they were like
Yes.
they
They
drank.
drink. Oh
So,
my God. I got banned from MoMA, working at MoMA.
okay, we're gonna
I have a
put
story
the
for you.
regularly
Sorry.
scheduled questions aside. What? Right, the first two questions are gonna wait. You got? How did you get banned from MoMA?
I pissed somebody off. So I don't have much of a filter these days. Like after COVID, especially, like my filter has just kind of and like that whole like suffer fools gladly thing. It's a
Mm,
problem. Um, so I was working at an event at MoMA, setting up the bar, and we were setting up that bar on the on the welcome desk or whatever that is. So it's like it's
yes.
not really so for those of you who bartend, like this is not a bar. This is like where they check people in to come to the museum. So it's like not a great setup. And a server's coming around and he's putting candles on the bar. Now I know how, and I think this was also a MoMA event, and I know how they drink. And for me, putting live candles on a bar, on a catering bar especially, is a huge do not do it because people are dumb, don't pay attention, and somebody's going to catch their hair on fire.
Their hair on fire, their sleeves, their
Right,
yes.
right. So the waiter's coming around with these candles. I'm like, no, 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 we can't put candles on the bar. And he's like, oh, the bar cap or the floor captain, event captain told me to. I was like, I'll go talk to her. She like we have a good, I'll explain it. It'll be fine. Stupid me goes over to her and she's talking to somebody else who I have no idea who this person is, and I should know better than to open my fucking mouth. So I went up and I was like, hey, so like we can't put candles on the bar. It's just not it's not okay. And the guy standing next to her, and he's the type, like not the stereotype, but like the high strung younger gay man. You know the
Oh
type.
yes.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Yes. So he gives me this look up and down. He's like, "We do this all the time," and I'm like, "It's a safety hazard. Like, it's a problem. I'm explaining why we can't do this." He's like, "Well, is this policy or is this a you thing?" So he's already starting to talk down to me. Like, do not talk down to me. Like, this is when
This
I go,
this stereotype of a gay man like that was supposed to be left in the 90s. Like,
yeah.
dear young twink, we are
And it
not.
was exactly, I like, that's exactly what it was. And I went, no, no, no. I've been doing this a long time. I know what I'm talking about. And he looks at me and goes, well, this sounds like a you problem.
I
And I
hope that.
went, do not talk to me like I'm stupid. And like I can see myself, like I went out of body. Like when this happens, like I go out of body. Like I can see myself. I'm like above my head and I see what's happening. I'm going, Arianna, shut up. Arianna, shut up. Arianna, shut
Too
up.
late.
Yeah, too late. And I can't stop talking. And like so this kind of like kept going on and he kept kind of like giving me this very condescending, well, like this is I'm like, I'm trying to save you from like burning down the museum. Okay, sorry. And he did like one more time, kind of gave me this is a you problem. And I like, do not talk to me like I'm stupid. And I walked away. I got a phone call the next couple of days later.
I got a phone call from them once for something that I was not a part of, and I let them know very
Yeah.
explicitly, and I told them do not want to receive a phone call like this again because I do not do. They were somebody drank on the job, and I was like, baby, I got too many bills
Mm-mm-mm.
to be drinking at work, and I got a full bar at home. But I digress. You continue. You
Yeah.
got that phone call.
So I got that phone call. I'm like, can you tell us what happened Tuesday night? And I was like, oh, yeah, Tuesday night. Let me tell you and I explained it, basically like I explained it to you. And I said, I do realize, I'm somebody who like, I will take responsibility if I fuck
Yeah.
up. I'm like, and I do realize that like I was out of line and I should have kept my mouth shut. I'm like, and I said, I know this sounds petty, but he started it. I know how this sounds, but it's true. And they were like, no, we agree with you. He started it. However, he is the client and like, you need to like manage yourself better and, blah, 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 blah. And so I got and he's requested that you no longer are put on jobs there. I was like, okay, sure. And that wasn't a terrible thing because you know what MoMA's like.
I mean, it can be grueling. And so whether I was behind the bar or on the floor, it's such a big space, so much area. And it's like to get things from where they are
Mm-hmm.
to begin with, like from the loading dock to,
Mm-hmm.
setting up the
In
Sani.
no time, in like
Yeah,
no amount of time, because you can't get on the floor
until
until
5 and the event starts
5.
at 5:15. It's like,
Yeah, so
and
just
it's
like
just,
bullshit.
I will say for the catering places I've worked at, with those tight turnarounds, they mostly have it down packed. Like the weddings
Mm-hmm.
at the Brooklyn Botanical, y'all, we set these bars up inside where the ceremony is going to happen, all the outside bars, and with the glassware, with the product, the ice, everything, we set them up inside and they just live at the door. And as soon as 5 o'clock hits and as soon as that last guest has left the grounds of the museum, we very carefully carry that out because there's no way to set, there's just not enough time. So
It's
it
vile.
it's annoying, but they do that. They actually do the best that I've seen so far. I want to say two things. One, totally worth it
Mm.
because Chad needs a reality check. And I'm all for, you know what? Burn yourself, baby. You gotta touch the stove to find out it's hot. But that's if it was Chad. I don't want to put other people at risk because and it's always like the client or the on-site event coordinator that has nothing to do with the event staff that we work for. They always just don't understand how things go. And it's like, so you got this job having never really done any of the jobs that make your job possible. And it's always these
Yep.
third-party event planners. And it's like, you literally don't know you don't even know who you're talking
Oh,
to. Like
I
they
had an
always come up
event.
to me
Yeah,
and it's like, just because I have a mustache doesn't mean I'm a manager. Like everyone thinks I'm a manager. I'm like, I'm literally wearing all black.
yeah.
Dear event, like third party event planners, if someone's wearing all black, they're not the manager.
They're
We
not. Yeah.
we we have no say in this. So go find somebody wearing a suit or wearing like a little Lane Bryant business, casual power suit. Like, go find someone that's dressed up like a politician. They're the ones in
Mm.
charge.
Yep. Well, and then they just and my favorite thing is these event planners and designers and whatever who have no understanding of functionality
Mhm.
and come in and are like, nope, no glassware on the bar, no this, no that. I just worked an event the other night and I was just on a martini bar. It was just martinis, and it was and 15 minutes before the event started, like they didn't really give us any instruction, so I just set up the bar in a way that made sense.
Yeah.
And party planner, event planner, whoever comes over, and I thought I was going to get banned from this place too. Uh, comes over and is like, "Oh no, no, no! Like this is not it at all. Like no glassware on the bar, and like all these they bought. So there's a martini bar, three specialty martinis. Like one was a dirty martini. It's not special. Um, uh,
I hate
and
when they say signature cocktails and it's like,
yeah,
oh, these craft cocktails. I'm like, it's a fucking Cosmo.
right. It
Like,
was
that's
yeah.
great. Great.
But
Dirty martinis are great.
you gave it a fancy name, and
Yeah.
yeah, and so she comes up. So they bought like these like silver little dish bowl things from Anthropology or something that they wanted all the garnishes to go in, and I divided them out between like me and the other bartender. There were only two of us on it. Thinking like these are what we were using for garnishes. Oh no, no, no! These were supposed to be decorative, and we had, I'm not kidding, 8 different garnishes for these martinis, and they wanted all of them in these little fancy silver bowls, like at the front of the bar. Like I'm like, people are gonna think this is a buffet. This is not like we can't
Because
like use.
people put their dirty fingers, they love to attack the bar with
Yeah.
their dirty fingers.
So we ended up taking off all. So we had to. There was a like one of those glass shelving unit things behind. They bring in those designers like the that are like pretty but not terribly functional, and those had like these decorative glasses on them and like these decorative things, and there so there was no place to put functional glassware, and they're like, oh no, no, you can take that off, we just set it up like that because you didn't know what you're doing. Okay, great, fantastic. So they pull all this decor stuff off. We have to move all the glassware back to this back bar. But I ended up, and we had 3 different each of these martinis had a different glass. There
Like
was
a
a Nick and
coupe, a
like a
Nick.
Nick
Oh,
and
I hate
Nora,
Nick
a
and Nora
coupe.
glasses.
Yeah. And yeah, I think it was like a 5 ounce, a 7 ounce, and a 9 ounce glass for these different martinis. So we
I'll
had
take the
different
9 ounce.
glasses. Yeah, exactly. And then we also had like underneath we had like a regular normal V-shaped 7 ounce martini glass. So we ended up like putting the fancy little dishes on the front, and then I did like a row of the glasses, just like one row for decorative for looks. It looked pretty good because they were all different. And then this is blank space. Oh, and the other really cool thing about this particular venue, all their liquor and everything is in house. Like we don't bring anything, but they won't give you backups. They give you one. I mean, we're making martinis. We're talking 3 to 4 ounces of vodka, gin, whatever, in each drink. So we're going through.
So
And
I hate that shit.
mm-hmm.
I because like, what do you think? You check people's bags. Nobody's gonna
What are
fucking
you,
steal from you.
what are you
And
gonna
like,
do? Yeah,
understand. I worked at the SAG Awards this year, and that part. I mean, I had so much fun, but that was one of the places where one of the event coordinators was like coming up to me, like, not me. I'm not the
right.
manager, but the
Everybody
one of
thinks I'm
the
the manager too.
yeah, and it's like, no, just I'm competent. You're right in that. You guessed that right. But the signature cocktail, the sponsor was Absolute, and it was Absolute Citron.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get, especially in LA, when you get in these places and the sponsor has to be visible. The sponsor has to be
Oh yeah.
visible. So we had not enough Absolute vodka bottles. It was Absolute Citron uh, for display for each bar, which they wanted one. I was like, well, where do you want me to get the bottles from? And because it had to be on display and we couldn't use the display bottles, I was making drinks with just regular Absolute because they didn't give us Absolute Citron to make the drinks with, and it wasn't even necessary. I think it was a Cosmo, and I was like, "This is just this," and they were like making it my fault. I'm like, "You provided it. You
Mm-hmm.
go talk to Absolute and ask for some more bottles." Like, but so we have to put it on display, but we don't have enough display for everyone, and now we don't have bottles to make the drinks with what's on display. I'm like, okay,
Why didn't they just
cool.
bring display bottles? Why didn't they bring, empty Absolute Citron bottles
Or a
for display,
freaking
or a
graphic,
dummy bottle or something?
right? Just like apps, something to hang behind. It was, yeah. People. This is why everybody should have to work a day in hospitality.
No, absolutely, because you have no idea what goes on if you've
Yeah,
not done this. Because ideally, we're making it look easy. Ideally, we're
yeah.
giving you an experience, and and you're enjoying yourself, and you don't have to think about it. But
There's a lot that goes in behind it. There's a lot,
the
and
insanity that we deal with behind the scenes of people who want things to look a certain way and aren't thinking about the functionality of things. Like I literally told this woman as she's telling me like to get rid of all the glassware, all this stuff. I said I have to be able to make drinks.
yeah,
Like, and she's like, no, we want. I'm like, let me tell you something. All these little garnishes that you have, no, you know what they're gonna do olives. They're gonna do a twist, and there was a specialty that had a tomato, like a little cherry tomato. So like they're gonna do that. I'm like, they brought thyme. I'm like, unless you've got like some kind of thyme infused vodka
why?
martini, nobody's asking for a sprig of thyme in
Well, and
their
garnishes
drinks.
that have nothing to do with the drinks. And it's like
Yeah.
you have more components in this drink than you have flavor. And that's my biggest
Mm-hmm.
thing, like more components than flavor. So why do we have all this garnish, which ultimately, for me, it just gets in the way, and it just
Right.
it makes it hard to drink, and so then I have to just discard it, and
Right.
then you have just garnishes thrown everywhere. It's like, just don't do. I get the idea. I get that you watch Sex in the City, the original, like, and you think this is what going out is, but like,
But I
baby,
think a Cosmo is amazing.
bah, I don't mind a Cosmo. I
I don't
don't it,
mind a Cosmo,
but it's not just
but
stop
but
doing.
the way people talk about it, like who don't know, it's the same. It's the
Yeah.
same thing with Negronis. We don't even want to start me on Negronis. Uh,
We have okay, so one of our listeners, hysterical Bertha, is going to chime in because you said Negroni, and so he listens, like he comments
love
on
it.
Instagram.
Love
like
it.
while he's listening, and I'm like, I know where you're at because you said Negroni, and he's like, Negroni gate, because I got into an issue with a
Mm-hmm.
coworker over Negronis, which we'll get to the first two questions. But how do you make a Negroni, and how deep is it actually?
Okay, so a Negroni is standard Negroni recipe: 1.5 Campari, 1.5 gin, 1.5 sweet vermouth.
That's a big ass Negroni, and I love it.
Well, and over ice, preferably one large ice cube if I have it. If not, just like whatever. Oh, and bitter. No, no, not bitters. I'm thinking Manhattans. Um,
That's the issue we got into because I put bitters in mine.
you know
Because
what? There's nothing wrong with that. I don't. Okay, but first of all, like I do not like Negronis. Okay, I think they're and I was actually talking about this with a friend of mine who was telling me that he drinks Negronis all the time, and I'm like, you just like hit my red flag, like you know. So we kind of had this conversation, and I've decided it's not particularly the Negroni itself that while I do not like it, I think it's a gross drink. It has to do with when I was working in a bar when they started kind of like becoming the thing. And then COVID happened. and I kind of got out of the industry for a bit. And then I came back in on the catering side of things. And all of a sudden people were drinking Negronis all the time because like that they'd heard it somewhere. They don't know where it was, but they heard it somewhere and they're like, oh, it's kind of cool to go up to the bar and be like, I'll have a Negroni. And they get particular about it. They get weird about it. And there's kind of an obnoxious, and I apologize.
and then they're like, "Can we use mezcal?" And then that's the other thing is like,
okay,
oh.
I had a guy 2 weeks ago comes into my bar, sits at the bar, and says, "Can I get a Negroni? But can I get it with mezcal instead of
as if they discovered it, as if they invented it right there on the spot."
Sure, absolutely. And then he goes, "What do you have that you can sub for the sweet vermouth?" And my brain kind of broke. And I went, this is no longer a Negroni. And I just kind of stared at him like he'd lost his mind. He's like, oh, do you have Lillet Blanc? Like, yes, I have Lillet Blanc. He's like, that's a substitute for sweet vermouth. Okay.
This is not a Negroni.
So we'll do that. I'm like, but this is no longer a Negroni. So it's not so much the drink. The drink's easy to make. Like if you're not throwing all this weirdness at me, the drink's easy. It's quick. It's one and done, out, go. But people are obnoxious about it.
It's the person. It's not the drink. It's the person. I feel the same way about a last word. And it's like, I used to love, I think it's a beautiful cocktail. And it used to be like when you go into an interview and it's like, what's your favorite cocktail? And I would just say like last word so they know I know what I'm talking about.
Right.
But then it just like, it's like the finance bros. And it's why is it always like straight men that are ruining the world? But it's like they appropriate these drinks and it's like as if they discovered it and they want the last word, and guess what they want to substitute? Oh, they want mezcal. They're like, and they order it just like so annoying, like, what kind of mezcal do you got? Like, look behind me, asshole. And like, have you ever heard of the last word? And then they I'm sure this probably happens to you because what a gay man experience is only like a fraction of what women experience dealing with straight men. But when they call it out to you when you say, oh, I got it, and then they call out the recipe. As if like you don't like no,
because I don't do this for a living or anything.
Like if it's some random drink you had in Alabama and it was like the peanut butter slammer, I'm like, I don't know what that is. You go to the Cheesecake Factory. Yeah. Somebody at one time came in and was like, can you do an almond joy martini? And I was like, where'd you get it from? And I think I don't know if it was a Cheesecake Factory or where it was, but I was like, I don't really have coconut back here. And she's like, no, it's an almond joy liqueur. And I was like,
who is stalking that?
Nobody. No, that's not a thing. Are you high?
Probably.
Hey there, just checking in. I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. And if you are, why not leave us a 5-star review and a comment or two wherever you're listening to this from. And don't forget to follow us on social media at TUFF SHIFT Podcast. That's TUFF Shift podcast. Everywhere. Literally everywhere. And just a reminder, gratuities not included, but tips are always welcome. And you can find our virtual tip jar at tuffshiftpodcast.com. That's TUFF shiftpodcast.com. All right, back to the show. All right, so oh my God, this is so fun. Let's get back to the first question.
How far are we into this?
My dear Arianna. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
This is what I love, because it really is. I tell people, they're like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I'm like, literally, it's your experience. This is not an interview. It's a
That's why I didn't
conversation.
put anything on the little questionnaire, because I know how this goes. Like, I could have said things on that questionnaire about, okay, we should talk about this. We should talk about. We would never get to them because this happens.
I have an entire outline here that is just. Who cares about the outline, right?
We're done.
But so I do want to ask, what was your gateway job into becoming this very stereotypical, multi-hyphenate of an artist surviving the job in hospitality?
It was moving to New York and starting out doing, I worked at Best Buy, I worked at Madame Tussauds, and somebody just kind of mentioned to me, well, have you thought about catering? And I was actually very proud of myself for a while, because I didn't fall into the stereotype of the struggling actor, waiting tables. And I went, and I did catering for a while before I got into restaurants. So I was still I still haven't done that. I'm still not the stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so the stereotype now. I'm just
it's lean in, just commit, lean into the bit.
I am there.
And it's such a thing. We're and people say it casually, and it's is this a microaggression? But people
Possibly.
kind of they're talking to you, and they're but at least I didn't have to be a waiter. And it's I'm actually taking your order right now, and you're doing that to me,
right.
or that I'm a waiter, that I bartend, and at least I don't have to do that. But it's like I said about the tipping earlier, but you respect the working man, you respect someone doing an honest job, you respect somebody doing what they have to do to take care of their business. But it's a waiter, so you're looking down on it as if there is so much skill, whether you're working at a Cracker Barrel or French Laundry. It is a skill and an art. It doesn't matter if it's a dive or a very classy bar. There is an art to getting this job done. And where the hell would you be without us?
Right.
Where would you have Mima's 75th birthday?
Are you going to make your Negroni?
Yeah. Where would you propose to your wife? Where are all these moments that happen? And we're the ones that do facilitate that. The weddings that we have, the countless weddings we have worked, the art openings. Where would you be without the hospitality industry? Because you learned that lesson in COVID, but you clearly forgot it, because you guys were just please open back up. We miss you because I don't know how to fry an egg. It's just you missed us.
And they don't know how to tip now.
And they don't know how to tip.
They've completely forgotten how to tip since COVID.
It is just, and even during COVID, it's I'm out here without health insurance.
On the bottom of my receipts, you don't even have to think about it, and we're still hitting between 9% and 13%, a lot.
And especially I find everyone sometimes behind the bar, it's in my opinion, everyone's working hard, but I feel bartenders in general have a little more to do than waiters.
And beyond that, but we also have a lot more emotional labor to do.
Yes.
If you're going, because I've done, I've been a server and I've been a bartender. I prefer bartending.
Same.
But it is definitely you go to the table, you get their order, you walk away. Behind the bar, they come sit right in front of your face. They want to tell you stories. They want to talk to you. You have to be personable. You have to. It takes a lot of emotional energy, outside of what the job takes from actually doing the work. There's so much more going on emotionally, because you've got to relate to these people. You've got to keep them interested in the conversation, because keep them drinking, keep them, you know.
Exactly.
So
And then
yeah.
you gotta find that being able to relate, but also having like an invisible wall up because sometimes it goes a little too deep and you hear a little more than you'd like to.
Oh,
And
I know so many things about people that I should not
it's
know.
yeah. And it's just like I appreciate the art and the idea of that relationship between a bartender and the customer. But I'm like, I need you in the same way, like, a couple weeks ago, these ladies walked up to the bar and one of them was like, hey, like I said, hey, Tom. And I'm like, a Tom Selleck joke. I'm like, fucking dude's hot. Dude's
Hmm. Hmm. Oh yeah.
still hot.
I
He's
mean, he
any
could get
age.
it.
He can get it, right? And so I get it, but like,
Him and Harrison Ford, man.
right? And especially Harrison because he's like a little angry. It's like, oh, like, yeah, maybe you don't respect me, but whatever. Anyways, why are these last few episodes so spicy?
I don't know.
But it's like, you don't know me. And like, I am, is there a ghost?
Somebody screamed somewhere.
Oh, maybe, maybe somebody's
Not going to
visiting.
say my bar is haunted, but that's
Right. Let's sorry, nobody needs to know. I'll tell the Tom story. Let's talk about ghosts. And let's talk about magical people. We'll get to the second question. We'll get to the second question.
some point
But
eventually.
just because I know that, I'm a very spiritual person. I believe outside
Hmm.
of things. I believe everything is all one, like
Right.
science and mystery and magic and spirituality. It's all the same. It's just different ways of understanding what we know. Da da da. Um, and we both came across a very magical person that we have in common, and I want to unpack. And I was like, she's probably going to show up today somehow.
Hmm.
But you in your many roles, one of the roles that you stepped into was the role of Joanna in Sweeney Todd, which as a
Yeah.
soprano is, I
Yep.
mean,
I know
Jess.
what you're talking about.
Sorry, I'm getting emotional now. Um,
Hmm.
and then you got to meet the original Joanna, Sarah Rice, and you got to be in her heart, and she got and still remains in your heart and mine. And can we talk about that? Like, just,
Oh
the
God,
soprano
yes.
looking towards Joanna, looking towards getting to have that dream role. And then, did you even, like, was that even on your bingo card that you would ever get to
No,
meet Sarah
no,
Rice?
no, absolutely not.
And just, can you just like unpack what it was like to play that role and then to get to
Right.
meet the first one,
So
who I think is the iconic one?
yeah. So what happened is it was one of the first shows I ever did was Sweeney Todd, and I was the Joanna cover, which was really annoying because the girl who was cast, like the music director, like brought her in at the last second, one of those things,
Mm.
and like she was in college and like couldn't make a lot of I did a lot of rehearsals,
Hmm.
and one of the big moments that I had rehearsal wise was there was a music rehearsal for the quartet. He means to marry Monday. What shall I do? I'd rather die. That whole thing.
Hmm.
I'd never worked on that with the music director. I'd never done. I'd been home listening to the recording, and I did. So I Sarah Rice like taught me that role
Yeah.
listening to the recording. And we went in and we went through the whole thing. And the only thing that was, and like this to this day still gets me, the only thing that was said to me, not like good, wow, great job for like doing this on your own, blah, 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 blah. The only thing that was said to me was at the end was, watch your timing on the, oh, sir, at the end. Because your timing was a little off on that. Everything else was fucking perfect. But my timing was off on that, having never sung through it with anybody except the recording.
Yeah. And you couldn't have had a better teacher than Sarah because
Right.
like she is
Hmm.
as a musician
Yes.
goes,
Oh, she's
she's magical.
so
She's so
yes.
precise and so just
So years later, I moved to New York, and there's a place called there's the Algonquin Hotel. It's very very famous. The Round Table and uh, what's her name? My brain just blanked. The writer, the columnist. I will shout it out at some inappropriate moment when I remember her name. Dorothy Parker. That's
oh yes, Dorothy Parker. Yes,
Dorothy
she
Parker. Like they all hung out there, and um, So they used to, years ago, they had a piano in the lobby, and they had, I think Sunday nights or something, had an open mic. Mark Janis, who is like this, and who was, everybody's name is like popping out of my head.
Lenny.
Bernstein, Leonard Bernstein's protege. Thank you. You know, hosted this thing and like played piano and would bring in all his, famous friends would come in and like host. And one night Sarah Rice was just happened to be the host. And so I got to meet Sarah that way. And like, I talked to her like afterwards. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, you taught me Joanna. And I like this, this music director did not teach me Joanna. You taught me Joanna. And like, to like be able to like say thank you for doing
Yeah.
this for me, like not having no clue that you've done this for me, and we were kind of close for many years. And like, like one of the last times I saw her, we just ran into each other and passing on a subway or something, and I was like, oh my god, it's so good to see you, hugs, hugs, hugs. And she was commenting on my outfit or something. She's like, I need to come over and raid your closet. I'm like, yes, please come over, raid my closet. I have so many things you can wear. And that's one of the last times that I saw her, and we just never made that happen. I do have my friend, my very good friend Sierra Ryan, sang in a church choir with her, and after she passed, somebody else who sings in the church choir was very close friends with Sarah. I think was like handling her effects, and brought in a bunch of like costume jewelry and things. And my friend Sierra grabbed a few pieces and was like, these are from Sarah's collection. So I actually have some jewelry that was Sarah's.
I almost I almost wore what I have of Sarah's
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
I was not able to get back to New York. Um, and my friend Carly was out there, and when they were kind of like looking through, just because her closet, just I mean, the kimonos and I mean, it just everything about her was so fabulous. And I want to just
Mm-hmm.
really quickly touch on like when you got the chance to thank her. Such an incredibly humble person.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think she really maybe understood the impact she had on so many, and
Yeah.
just even furthering that impact based on like, so this is who you are, and this is the legions of sopranos and young singers you've inspired. But then your kindness and your humility just even deepen the
Right.
experience. Um,
To have somebody like that who I
yeah.
never thought I would meet, let alone like we were friends,
Yes. Exactly.
and I introduced and I introduced her to Rebecca Kane.
Oh wow. Oh, another super soprano. But they actually when they were going through her effects in this magical closet of hers, which there is a story about her closet. I don't know it well enough to tell, but there was something spiritual around her closet, her
Mm.
armoire. But I did. Apparently the group was sitting together and was like sorting through things and like make sure everyone has a piece of Sarah, and there were
Mm.
these two pieces. And apparently they all said that's for Sean Patrick. And so I have this kimono. It's like beige with just, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, all this embroidery, just like these
Oh,
vibrant colors.
beautiful.
And I want to use it for like my Christmas show, like when I do my soft drag. I even bought like a slip to wear underneath, because it does have kind of like a wintry
Mm-hmm.
festival
Mm-hmm.
thing to it. But my fear is that people are wonderful, but people are also a little careless, and I just don't want to see people after the show and they hug me and a sequence or an earring or jewelry
Mm-hmm.
snags that, because if that gets snagged, I will freaking cry. And then I have like a sheer overlay that's like purple and
Right.
black and green, and it's just to have a piece of Sarah, and to just even be thinking about back to when you learned the music, when I was in school learning these shows and these weird, we've talked about on here, you go to New York to do X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
And then all these other magical adventures happen, and you get to meet people like Sarah Rice. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just, New York is a phenomenal place. And it's like those little things, though it doesn't pay the rent, it
Right.
does, it is something that just has it's priceless. You cannot
Yeah.
put a
No.
price on that experience.
The people that I've met in the theater community, what's really funny is like, I'm originally from California. I'm originally, from the Los Angeles area. I've run into and had more interactions with famous people here than I
Yeah.
ever did living in LA.
Well, because I think the celebrities here all go to certain spots
Mm-hmm.
uh, to be photographed, to pretend that they don't want to be photographed, to do whatever. They all, LA is not one big city. It is 25 cities stapled and duct taped together.
Mm-hmm.
So there's pockets, and there's
Yeah,
pockets in New York. But I feel like in New York, celebrities are much more casual. They'll just show up to your bar and not want
because
special
yeah,
treatment.
and because New Yorkers are a little bit more laid back, you
Yeah.
know. Like I like the funny thing is like so the bar that I worked at before COVID was dive bar, drag club. We had a drag cabaret in the back room, um, and I didn't realize it like until like well after the fact. I was hanging out with Alex Newell on the regular because she was a total she was in there all the time. I
Yeah.
had no idea. I had no idea. And and you know working and you know certainly it was not prior to being famous, but like I just hung out with Alex Newell.
And they're just yeah, they are so cool. And like even when I met and became friends with Kelly Rabke, who
Hmm.
did the revival of Joseph, she was the narrator. She
Hmm.
did she originated in Children of Eden. All that, and she my bar was brand new and it was near her apartment. Her and her boyfriend and John, who has played for me in so many auditions and I just love.
Hmm.
And they were just sitting there. So I knew John, and my brain just didn't register. And my friend came in, and it's like, of course, a musical theater. I won't say the F word.
Hmm.
A musical theater gay came in
Hmm.
and was like, "Oh my God, it's the narrator!" And I was like, "Oh my God,
Oh,
it's
what?
the narrator!" It's crazy. I do so. I kind of want to get back. I want to get back to the second question now that we're getting close to an hour into it, and I know the MoMA thing kind of could qualify
I
as a tough
know
shift.
that it was definitely one of many.
But what is a tough shift that just lives on in infamy for you to this day that you're like, thank God this day's over?
So I worked at a certain tourist trap in Times Square for about 5 years, where all the wait staff sings.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Yeah, um, definitely. And in 2016, new management came in, and I said, like, the minute they came in, I said, watch, they're looking to get rid of everybody they didn't hire. Just, just watch. And let me tell you, rules change day to day. We had no people were getting fired left and right. I made it 6 months. I don't know how I made it 6 months, but I did. There's still a few people there who survived, not many. Um, and there was one day where I came in and I opened 6:30 a.m. opening, and I walked in, and the way it's set up is there's like a bar in the back. You don't sit at the bar; it was just a service bar. So there's a bar in the back, and there was a bunch of like plywood up, like around it, like covering it. So they were doing some kind of remodeling. And I walked in and I saw that, and immediately, right out loud, out of my mouth, oh, this is how people get fired. Because I knew it was going to happen. We were going to have, there's also a club downstairs
Mm-hmm.
with a bar. And if for any reason we could not use the bar on the floor, we would have to run down and go to the bar down there. And it was a Sunday, which means we're getting the brunch crowd, which means we are, lying down the block to get in. It's massive wait times. Then I find out, on top of this disaster happening, the management that came in was very knowledgeable as far as restaurant management went. The problem is they tried to run us like a restaurant. And while clearly we were a restaurant, we were also having to sing every 20 minutes or so.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't, you, and one of the first things that they did was cut down the number of staff on the floor and make our sections bigger. I had the biggest section that day. I was running my ass off to tables up and downstairs. Every once in a while I'd hear, and up next to sing. And I'm like, nope, can't do it. Absolutely not. There is no way. And I saw our entertainment director, who I have plenty of stories about and who hated me, um, saw him at one point as they were like calling me up, and I'm going, nope, can't do it. Saw him kind of go like, when's the last time she sang? Kind of, like
Yeah.
looking for a reason to call me out. And what ended up happening that day, because of all this chaos and up and down the stairs and trying to make sure I'm getting drinks, and I had a hard time picking up checks off the table. And so some of the managers were getting snarky about that and like picking up checks after people left and being like, you could lose a check this way and that could get you fired, and kind of giving me that shit. I also had an incident where we didn't normally have breaks until this new management came in, and then all of a sudden there was like this like mandatory, like all of a sudden we had like a floater server coming in and breaking us and stuff. So because of this like chaos with the drinks, and like sometimes you don't know that you're going to actually have the drinks that you ordered, I didn't get all the drinks in on a table on the POS and all of a sudden the managers and floaters are coming at me going, you have to go on your break. Like, you have to go on your break now. You have to go on your break now. And I'm like trying to make sure everything, and I kind of got pulled away. And so these drinks did not get entered onto the POS for this table. And when I came back up, the table had closed out or whatever. And at the end of the shift, I got called in because technically that's theft, not putting the drinks on the, thing. And I will say at that point, people had been fired for less. I did not get fired that day. Kind of because I did have the new management at the time actually did kind of like me for some reason. So I got a write-up, but that they're like, you can't, like you have to put drinks in, you have to put, and I'm just like, I'm like, you understand it is chaos up there. You have made it chaos, and expecting like what you're expecting us to do is not humanly possible.
Yep. I always say, I'm more than happy to do whatever you ask of me. I just need it clearly communicated. And if you're going to have me jump through hoops, I will jump through them. But the least you could do is hold them up.
Yeah.
The least you could do is hold the hoops up, because I'm not diving into the floor. Like, when they change stuff up like that, and it's always like, oh, we're going to cut staff. It's like, that's not to make me more money. That's so that way you have less hourly. It's for your overhead, but it's affecting service. So you're service first, and you're so on hospitality and this and that, but you're not providing your team with the structure they need. You have a brunch and your bar is out of service. You have, and just to paint the picture for this place, if you know it, you know it, but it is 2 stories. People are singing off the balcony. There's a walkway, there's a catwalk. So you have to like get up and walk over tables, and you're singing and this and that. And I've been a singing waiter.
So rickety.
I've not worked there, but I have been a singing waiter, and it is just like, people want you to sing, but then when you're singing, they're like, more ranch. It's like, just wait a goddamn second. This is part of the magic. And it's like, if you're running a place like that, like, I get that you have experience with management, you have experience with this, but my thing, when new regimes come in, you don't have experience with this restaurant. So I need you to, as you're implementing your ideas, actually observe, and don't just go, because like you're in a place of power. So what you say does go. But then when things start falling apart, it's like, are you reflecting on yourself and seeing how you were part of this, or are you just going to continue to burn out your staff?
No, it's clearly the fault of your staff. I mean, clearly you
exactly
can't handle this.
And they do that shit where they weed people out, and when they write-ups, I think, are bullshit. Like, I've never in 20 years had a write-up.
I had never had I'd been there almost 5 years at this point, never had a write-up.
You survived 5 years there? Now, was the money so I heard it was backbreaking, but I heard like the
The
money was like
the
sometimes ridiculous.
money was ridiculous. The money, especially like during the holiday seasons, because
Mm,
we're right by Radio
Radio
City.
City. Yeah.
So like those, there's like 5 Rockette shows a day, and they get out of there and they come right lines around the block, and it's a big block.
Yeah. The lines in New York, especially, it's just like it's so funny. It doesn't matter what time of year, like
Hmm.
especially like Serendipity, which is amazing. I love that
Hmm.
place.
Yeah.
But people will wait out in the snow to go
Hmm.
inside and order ice cream.
Oh, like the way people would wait, and it would get really, and it would get so. I had again holiday season,
Yeah.
and I had this. I was up in the mezzanine, and I got this table, got sat in the corner, and they'd been waiting for an hour or more to get in, and they got this kind of corner table, and people didn't like sitting in the mezzanine because you can't really see. And my whole thing was always, we did our best to like run up the stairs and run around the bed, and like so that everybody could see us at some point.
Yeah.
But we weren't like doing choreographed numbers. We weren't like, this wasn't like a Broadway show. This is us park and barking, mostly. And like, I mean, yeah, we're doing a performance, but we're not, this isn't Broadway. And these people sat and immediately started complaining about where they were sitting because, we can't see anything. And like every time I'd come by, they'd make some snarky comments about, well, I mean, we've been here before and we've never had to sit and it's like constantly every time. And I finally kind of lost it all. I said, look, obviously we're very popular. I'm like, I don't know what you think you're missing, because they were talking about how, we can't see anything, we're missing. I said, I don't know what you think you're missing. Like, we're coming up here and singing to you, and we're singing down. Yeah, we're singing down there, and I don't know what you think you're missing and you're not seeing, because you're certainly hearing everything, you
Exactly.
know. And they're like, well, I mean, we've been here before, and I'm like, we've never had to. I'm like, well, then be grateful for the times that you were here before and you got better seats, but don't be bitchy and snarky at me, who has no control over it. You see how many people you want. You could have told the host when they were like, oh, you're gonna sit here. Oh no, can we wait? You would have had to wait another hour, but
Hmm.
that's on you. But that is on you.
And just take personal responsibility for the fact
Mm-hmm.
you went to a tourist trap. You went here and like you can have whatever you want, but you're either gonna have to pay for it or wait
Mm-hmm.
for it. So we can
Yeah.
make anything happen, but you have to there's a compensation somehow. You got to
Mm-hmm.
take personal responsibility. And like I said earlier, please stop complaining to the waiters
Mm-hmm.
about things that they can't fix.
Yeah. We can't.
So
I don't
I
make
can
the
get you more
prices on.
ranch.
Yeah. I don't make the prices. I don't. Make the cook times. Yeah. You ordered a well done steak. I'm sorry. That's not going to take 10 minutes.
And this isn't Applebee's. You know, it's not, we're not,
Mm-hmm.
there's no Chef Mike in the back. For
Right.
listeners who don't know what a Chef Mike is, Chef Mike is the microwave. But, it's just like, and people are like, just so you know, just so you can let people know,
Mm-hmm.
like, no, you let people know because when you
Mm-hmm.
want to know how to not affect change, have a waiter
Mm-hmm.
suggest something to a manager because anything that comes out of our mouth is we're
Yeah.
lazy, we're complaining, we're this, we're that, like just make it work. It's like, so if you really want to not affect change, then continue to air your grievances to the server,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that they're going to tell the manager. It's
Mm-hmm.
not going to happen. It's
Yeah.
it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and at the end of the whole, oh, I'm not tipping because they should pay you a living wage. Well, that's not hurting my boss. That's hurting me. Like that's
Exactly.
that's that's what I don't understand. You're so offended. You're so offended that I'm not being properly compensated that you are not going to properly compensate me.
And again, if they paid us a livable wage, then you'd be paying for that anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
why not just skip this stupid fucking conversation? And it's 20% is so fucking just to shut you up, 10. Just to shut
Mm-hmm.
if you get the fuck
Yeah.
out of here, like just 10 will be fine, but do 20%.
Yeah. This is not about your outrage and your offense over this. Is your outrage and offense over having to pay more.
And see what happens when things are run a little more like they're done in Europe and other countries where tipping is not done. So, where people their hospitality is still hospitality,
Mm-hmm.
but see when you ask for something ridiculous, see the look on their face.
Mm-hmm.
See the look on the. Go to Italy and ask for, fettuccine alfredo. Go to Italy and ask for chicken on your pasta. See what happens.
Mm-hmm.
There are no substitutions.
Mm-hmm.
Senza substituzione. I don't know
Senza
that.
substituzione.
There we go. Something.
I lived in Italy and I don't speak Italian, so there you
I'm like,
go.
if it's not on music in front of me, I can't pull
Yeah,
it from my head.
exactly.
Um, but yeah, wow, this has flown by.
I know,
There,
right?
I
And
just
there's
want to.
still so much.
There's still so much, and we will. I definitely want to have you back because this is amazing. But for right now,
Hmm.
what do you have going on? I mean, you're at the Stonewall. You're at so many places. Like, where can people find and support your singing, online and in
Yeah.
person?
So well online I'm Lady Aria with a little underscore at the end because some asshole had Lady Aria before I did and they don't do anything with it and I'm bitter. Um, so like I'm Lady Aria everywhere. YouTube, Instagram, Threads. Not not X actually, but I don't use that anymore anyway. But I can't delete my account. I've been trying to delete my account on X for like I don't know how long, and every time I do, they're like, "Oh, this cannot be processed" or something. I don't know. So I still do have
Oh,
an X account, but you won't see anything there.
won't
So
see
yeah,
any action there.
nothing going on there. So I'm at the Stonewall at least once a month. The
Hmm.
last Monday of the month, I do this cabaret series called Stonewall All Stars, uh, which is a different theme every month. Anthony Fett is the producer. He's amazing. Gets all these people together. Some people who have been on Broadway, some people who like this is the only time they ever get in front of people and sing. It's like this mixed bag, but everybody is so fucking talented.
I love that.
So like we just did with last Monday was the Pride edition, which I get to open the show because I did glitter and big A.
I love it. Speaking of high notes.
Yes, all the high notes, and I interpolate some that aren't on the sheet music because I'm stupid like that. And
I love it.
so the next one is I think he said it's beach ball or something. So it's usually the last Monday of the month unless there's like a holiday situation, and then it'll be like the Monday before. So that happens regularly, and then pretty much when they have, if he's producing like a special event there, like I did the Oscars and I did the Tonys
Nice.
there, and he has us like sing during the commercial break, so you don't have to watch commercials.
I love that. That sounds.
Which is
I am
really
so
cool.
jealous just
Oh,
watching all the posts from both
I
you and Anthony.
know
Just like,
you
oh,
would
I need
like.
to be
You
there.
should come.
I'm
Please
due
come
for a
visit.
visit.
Come visit. Come visit. And then I am currently working on getting my own cabaret together, which
Wonderful.
is like I'm like afraid to say that. I'm so terrified of it. So the Lavinia, who is like the co-host producer with Anthony on these things, also directs cabarets, and she came to me one night. She's like, "We need to get you your own show."
Yeah.
Because she's like, "You can sing anything and you're funny." I was like, "Okay."
Let's do it.
She's like, and well, we can. She's like, and we can certainly book you in here. She's like, but like, you're kind of classy, and like, we can book you in nicer places too.
There's a
with
lady
like
in
a
the room.
with like a really good piano player.
I love that. Do you
So
sing?
so
Do you sing
that
to tracks, or is there a piano there?
so you kind of have the option. Mostly we do tracks at Stonewall. There is a piano, and it's like if you have a piano player, you can.
Hmm.
But it's mostly tracks.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's nice because we do kind of have the option. But yeah. And I just I like my full orchestration things, and I've gotten really good at like editing them a little bit to give
Oh,
myself
nice.
a little stretch and play, so I don't have to be on the
Exactly.
track,
Fermata.
which is right, exactly, which is nice. So that's kind of in the works. We're just kind of in the beginning talking stages of making a solo cab. I'm like, people have been telling me for years to do it, and I'm like so terrified of it because I just have like these visions of like nobody's gonna show up. Like I put out all this money for like a musical director and whatever. I don't know whatever costs go into this, and then like I play to an empty room. So
it is and people wait to the last minute to buy tickets, and then
Hmm.
there's so much about it, and there's also just it's difficult in that this is not a script. This is I'm working on a new show myself, and it's like
Hmm.
these are the songs I want to do, and it's like it's just getting things streamlined, and like
Yeah.
you can't do every song, and so you just got to
Mhm.
find where these songs are pretty much the same. So pick the one you love more, and
Right.
you just what I do is, and I'm dragging my feet on this, is I book the date.
Oh,
I
okay.
book the date, then I get my 13 songs because it's always around 13 songs.
Yeah.
And I just select these ones. And then I play with the order. And then from the order, I'm music first. Then when I
Hmm.
get the order, then I find the stories that
Mm-hmm.
naturally pop up between songs. And it's your stories, your experience,
Yeah.
your what you
Let's
want
see,
to
like,
say.
right, and that's the hard thing too, is for me especially, is like coming up with what I want to talk about, like what I want to tell a story. Because I hate the idea of like 45 minutes of hi, here's me, and then I moved to New York, and then I did this, and then I did this, and then I did this. I'm like, I don't
The
like that format, you know?
It's a little bit, and there some people underestimate cabaret because their own only experience is when they're doing summer stock, and there's that the theater wants to make more money, and so they'll have you do a cabaret show without a bump in pay.
Of course.
And there's a type of cabaret that mainly musical theater people do, and it's like the I call it the musical theater anthology cabaret, where
Yeah.
basically they just open the book and sing through it and talk about well, this next song is a song I love, and I sang it in my senior year, and don't you
Right.
just love? And it's like,
Uh,
get me out of here,
mm.
waitress.
Yeah, right?
So we're gonna check in on you and see where that is, and when you have that show to promote, we'll gladly promote away here. Before I let you go, we know very well that bad news travels much faster than good news, if at all. So I like to make a point to go out of my way to express good news, to express good experiences, because it's just, we don't get enough of that in the restaurant, in the world.
Mm-mm.
So who is someone, with that in mind, who has made a tough shift easier for you that you'd like to just shout out today?
Oh my God. So, I mean, everybody that I worked with at that tourist trap, just like Jennifer uh, and that was such, we were such a tight group because we had to be,
Yeah.
because like it was brutal, so brutal. And if we didn't have each other's backs, we wouldn't have made it through. And so like for as much awful as I can say about that place, and for God's sake, if you're coming to New York, don't go there. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
The curly
But
fries are on point, though.
the curly fries are on point. But if you do go there, take care of that staff, because that
Yeah,
staff bust their ass.
exactly.
Not only are they bringing you your freaking bebop burger, they're
Bebop Burger.
they're getting up there and sing. I mean, I sang "Let It Go" 5 times a day at
Oh,
one
I'm
point because
sure.
you know
I'm sure because every kid that came in from the American
every
Girl
kid
doll
that could. Oh
plays. It's
God.
just like it's just they all feed into each other.
Right. It was Defying Gravity, and then it was Let It Go, and like same song,
Back to back, same
same
song.
singer.
Exactly, exactly. So there you have it, Jennifer and everyone else at the
Everyone
name
else.
redacted
I
diner.
don't. Yes, I don't even know. I'm not even. I think Jennifer's the only one I know for sure who's still there
We got
from when I worked
everyone,
there.
everyone that
Yeah.
works at the name redacted diner. This episode has been for you, and clearly the world needs more people like you. So thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for doing what you've done, and take care of each other. All right. This has been another episode of Tough Shift, and just remember, tough shifts build character, and character is what brings your story to life. Take care.
Mwah.
Tough Shift was created and hosted by Sean Patrick Murtagh. It was recorded on Riverside and distributed with Buzzsprout. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review and maybe a comment or two. And remember, tough shifts build character, and character is what brings your story to life.